Hello, welcome to the Marketplace. My name is Darryl Kwao. Coming up next, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta set to outline measures aimed at job creation, improving revenue mobilization, and revitalizing the economy as he presents the 2021 mid-year budget review. We will be live in Parliament for the latest. Of course, there has been a delay. We were expecting the address much earlier. We'll also speak to an economist on what to expect. Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is demanding a plan to deal with the country's rising debt. We have all of that coming up on the Marketplace. Don't go anywhere. And we're taking you live to Parliament where the Finance Minister is addressing the House.
2016 Act 921. Mr. Speaker, this statement is an abridged version of the mid-year fiscal policy review of the budget statement and economic policy of the Government of Ghana for the 2021 financial year. I respectfully request, Mr. Speaker, that the entire mid-year fiscal policy review of the 2021 budget is captured in the Hansard. Mr. Speaker, in December 2020, the people of Ghana renewed their confidence in the President for another 4-year term. Let me take this opportunity to thank His Excellency the President for the confidence he retains in the team of the Ministry of Finance and for the privilege and opportunity to continue in this national service of managing the economy and our public finances for another 4 years. I also, Mr. Speaker, wish to extend my deepest gratitude to Honorable Osei Mensah-Bonsu for the outstanding delivery of the 2021 budget statement and economic policy of government in March, and even buying a bag like mine. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I want to personally thank you for your noble and wise leadership over this unique composition of this 8th Parliament, and to assure you that government will continue to work with you and this House to deliver on the priority needs of our people. Again, permit me to express my heartfelt gratitude to this august House for your patience and forbearance in postponing my vetting and subsequent approval, giving me time to recuperate. I recognize the historic nature of this second term, and as indicated in my vetting, I commit to ensuring the protection of the public purse and the transformation of the economy. Mr. Speaker, it is my hope that the spirit of partnership that guided our work with the previous Parliament will continue to define our collaboration over the second term for the collective good of the nation. Mr. Speaker, it's difficult to attempt to normalize the catastrophe that has befallen the world. The devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on lives and the global economy is widely acknowledged. The grim statistics are that over 196 million people have been infected by the virus, 4.1 million dead, and over 15 trillion spent. In Ghana, we join, Mr. Speaker, sadly, in mourning with the 823 families who have lost loved ones and pray for the recovery of those afflicted. The COVID-19 induced global recession has been the deepest since the end of the World War II, that is 76 years ago. The global economy contracted by 3.3% in 2020, a 6.7% decline relative to the 3.4% growth forecast by the IMF back in October 2019. Growth in sub-Saharan Africa was minus 1.9%. Ghana achieved a 0.4% growth. From the very first day that the coronavirus arrived here in Ghana in March 2020, the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo recognized the dire consequences that it will have on our economy, particularly on jobs, and on our ability to raise revenues to meet both the cost of managing the pandemic and government's regular spending obligations. If I may quote from the President's address on 27 March 2020, where he underlined the challenge and the approach. Should the virus continue to linger for the rest of the year, the effects on our economy will be dire. However, as we have demonstrated over the course of the last 3 years, where we inherited an economy that was growing at 3.4%, and transformed it into one which has grown by an average of 7% over the last 3 years. I assure you that we know what to do to bring back our economy to life. What we do not know how to do is to bring back to life. We will therefore protect people's lives than their livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, therefore, the hardship that COVID-19 pandemic visited on people's lives, the stress on parents, the frustration of young people, the negative impact on businesses for both employers and employees, the worsening of the unemployment situation, the effect on the public debt, and the stress on revenue mobilization was unprecedented but expected. Indeed, no country in the world had prepared for the crisis that unfolded. That is why leadership was therefore assessed by the measures that individual countries and their respective leaders took to deal with the crisis. Here in Ghana, we took responsible, innovative, decisive, and bold actions to tackle the crisis. That is why a year ago on Thursday, 23rd July 2020, I came before this House to present what I called an extraordinary mid-year fiscal policy review of the 2020 budget statement and economic policy, and secured more funds to provide an immediate and appropriate response to the severe economic impact of the pandemic. In addition, the 2021 expenditure in advance of appropriation presented to this House on 28 October 2020 saw to the uninterrupted delivery of government business in the first quarter of this year and the ongoing implementation of the 2021 budget and economic policy of Friday, 12 March is driving and the revitalization of the economy in line with our theme of completion, consolidation, and continuity. With these approvals, we intervened with timely measures to help, particularly households, schools, hospitals, and businesses, withstand the impact of the pandemic. Government provided direct transfers to households through food distribution and absorption of water and electricity bills, tax waivers to frontline health workers, and stimulus packages to small and medium-scale enterprises were also provided. Mr. Speaker, these interventions stabilized the situation, protected lives, supported businesses, and preserved jobs, which would otherwise have been lost. In fact, although the workload from the public sector had to be reduced in many cases, all through the COVID crisis, government has never once embarked on any program of laying off workers. Rather, we have continued to pay all workers and even proceeded to employ more in some critical areas such as security and health services. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity to thank organized labor and employers for their role in concluding wage negotiations with government in May. The negotiations were marked by a shared understanding of the state of the economy, that we as a nation cannot share what we do not have, a collective will to improve productivity, raise more revenue, and ensure decent wages in the years to come. Mr. Speaker, as a result of our competent management of the crisis situation, Ghana's economy has outperformed its peers, recovering faster. After recording negative growth in the second and third quarters of 2020, the economy rebounded strongly in the last quarter of the year, continuing well into the first quarter of 2021. The Ghana Statistical Service reports the overall GDP growth for first quarter 2021 was 3.1%. The growth was even better, excluding oil, at 4.6%. The Bank of Ghana Composite Index of Economic Activity attests to the strong growth recovery, with the index growing at 33.1% at the end of May 2021, compared to a contraction of 10.23% at the end of May 2020. Mr. Speaker, on inflation, we are witnessing one of the lowest numbers on record in about 2 years. Inflation, which at the height of the pandemic hovered around 11.8%, dropped to 7.5% in May 2021, before inching up slightly to 7.8% in June. The Bank of Ghana will continue to implement appropriate monetary policy to maintain inflation rate within the target of 8 plus or minus 2%. The cedi has been relatively stable in the past 4 years and maintained its stability even in this pandemic year. For the first time For the first time in the Fourth Republic, the exchange rate did not see a spike after an election year. Cumulatively, from the beginning of the year to date, the exchange rate has depreciated by 0.6% against the US dollar and appreciating by 3.6% against the euro. This stability is expected to continue as we move towards the close of the year. The relatively strong performance of the external sector led to an increase in the reserves position to $11 billion US dollars, equivalent to 5 months of imports, one of the highest on record. This compares well with a reserve position of $9.2 billion, equivalent to 4.3 months imports cover in the corresponding period last year. Mr. Speaker, we are managing the finances of the country with discipline and competence. The fiscal operations for the period January to June 2021 indicate that the overall deficit was 22.32 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 5.1% of GDP. The corresponding primary balance for the period was a deficit of 7.3 billion cedis, equivalent to 1.7% of GDP, against a target of 4.8 billion Ghana cedis, or 1.1% of GDP. We will continue to pursue our fiscal consolidation agenda to ensure that we remain within the appropriation given by this august House. Mr. Speaker, I would like to note that notwithstanding our elevated debt levels as a result of COVID-19, our inflation rate is lower than it was in 2016. Our interest rates are lower than they were in 2016. Our exchange rate is more stable than it was in 2016. Our foreign exchange reserves are much higher than they were in 2016. And we did not have to lay off any workers, nor cancel teacher and nursing training allowances. Furthermore, we did not go to the IMF for a bailout program, neither have we built an interchange for the price of 3. This is because we have managed the economy much better than it was managed up to 2016. Let us, Mr. Speaker, not forget this. On the back of these and other deliberate policies, our country has attracted more foreign direct investment in the midst of the pandemic. As of end June 2021, total FDI into the country was valued at $954.2 million, indicating an increase of 71.2% from US $557.2 million recorded over the same period last year. Mr. Speaker, the strong rebound in growth, the low inflation rates, the stable currency, the strong reserve position, and FDI flows are clear indicators of an economy in recovery. Indeed, the strategic investments we collectively made in building strong economic fundamentals in the 3 years prior to this pandemic, as well as the subsequent speed, scope, and scale of our socio-economic response to the pandemic, is fueling our recovery. Mr. Speaker, I stand before this august House today to assure the nation that our transformation agenda is very much on course. However, with COVID-19 still with us, it is important to stress that the recovery is only the beginning, a beginning that requires our collective sense of responsibility and action as citizens to guide, protect, and participate in the recovery efforts. Mr. Speaker, this mid-year fiscal policy review that I'm presenting does not come with a supplementary budget, and our revised fiscal framework for 2021 is kept within the fiscal target of 9.5% of GDP. We are staying within the 2021 appropriation. Respectful Mr. Speaker, let me repeat, I'm not here today to ask for more money. I have not come. Mr. Speaker, I'm not here today to ask for more money. I have not come I have not come to ask for more taxes. I have come to update the House on the performance of the economy for the first half year of 2021 and our plans for the unexpired term of the year consistent with Section 28 of the PFM Act. One of the serious impacts, Mr. Speaker, of the COVID-19 pandemic has been the loss of jobs, which has exacerbated the unemployment problem, particularly among the youth. As such, government is ready with a comprehensive program to tackle this intractable problem. The goal is to create employment opportunities for 1 million of our young people over the next 2.5 years by igniting, Mr. Speaker, a high spirit of entrepreneurship. We will count on the support of this august House for this. Our focus on taxes is to collect what is due the Republic. To this end, we are building a robust framework to expand a domestic revenue mobilization to focus on compliance and enforcement nationwide. We have established, Mr. Speaker, the Revenue Assurance and Compliance Enforcement, RACE, R-A-C-E. The remit of RACE, Mr. Speaker, is to identify and eliminate revenue leakages in areas such as petroleum bunkering, gold and minerals exports, port operations, transit goods, warehousing, border controls, and free zones operations, to name but a few. Mr. Speaker, I will now present an assessment of the programs we have and continue to implement in line with our strategy for completion, consolidation, and continuity, which is the theme for the 2021 budget and economic policy. These programs address the concerns of our fellow Ghanaians, especially our youth, and demonstrate our commitment to create sustainable and inclusive opportunities for all. Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of our completion pledge, we have completed a number of projects and activities, including but not limited to the 4-tier interchange at Pokwase, the first of its kind in West Africa, to ease, and second in Africa, to ease travel constraints and enhance our productivity. The 85-bed Central Gunja District Hospital, located in Boape, to improve access to quality health care. Key strategic factories to provide jobs and accelerate our industrialization agenda, including the new factory of Premium Foods Limited at Ejusu in the Ashanti region, one of the leading agribusiness in Ghana. Nano Foods Limited, pineapple juice processing factory at Nsewem. Phase 1 of B5 steel plant in La Plega in Ningo Pram, which when fully completed will become the biggest steel factory in West Africa. Toyota Tushu vehicle assembly plant in Tema, successfully securing the removal of Ghana from the Financial Action Task Force Grace List, which has enhanced access to global markets and finance for our businesses, and the signing of seven implementation compacts under the Ghana Cares Obatampa program. Mr. Speaker, towards consolidating the gains made, we have, among others, pursued prudent macro-fiscal policies that puts us back on track to restore economic stability and growth, fostered a resilient financial ecosystem under Ghana Cares by establishing the building blocks for stronger and catalytic collaboration between institutions such as the Ghana Incentive-Based and Risk-Sharing Scheme for Agricultural Lending, GERSAL, Ghana Commodity Exchange, GCS, Venture Capital Trust Fund, and the restructured Ghana Enterprises Agency, formerly MBSSI, to anchor a new age of entrepreneurship, job creation, and wealth building for our post-COVID transformation. We issued a historic foreign currency denominated zero-coupon bond in our financing mix that's creating the fiscal space to build our financial resilience, and revamp the energy sector to further stabilize electricity supply for households and businesses. Mr. Speaker, our pledge on continuity has also driven us to continue to implement the Phase 2 of the Ghana Cares Obatampa program to revitalize our economy after a successful execution of the stabilization measures in Phase 1. Continue to implement our key flagship programs, including Free SHS, PFJ, 1D, 1F, among others, to enhance the quality of life of our people and further advance our transformation agenda. Continued our environmental agenda by embarking on a war against illegal mining, galamsey, to preserve our water bodies and protect the environment. And continue government's historic partnership with labor and employers, and also with the faith-based organizations. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the above, we've continued to provide the needed resources, equipment, and personnel to maintain security and peace within our borders. We are on course, Mr. Speaker, to transform the security services to enable them to adequately respond to emerging national and sub-regional threats. Mr. Speaker, we are aware of various conversations and we will take appropriate measures at the right time, and we beg this House to support us in that bid. In line with government's agenda to enhance our global stature, Ghana placed a bid and was elected as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council for the 2022-2023 term. Additionally, His Excellency the President was also elected unanimously for a second term as chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS. President Akufo-Addo remains co-chair of the United Nations and Sustainable Development Goals Advocate Group with Norway's Prime Minister, Erna Solberg. He is also the AU champion for both financial institutions. The first dose, 405,971 have been fully vaccinated with the second dose at the end of June this year. Mr. Speaker, our diplomatic efforts are yielding results, and we are expecting to receive through the COVAX facility 1.2 million Pfizer vaccines from the United States of America, 249,600 AstraZeneca vaccines from the United Kingdom. In addition, government has committed itself to purchase through the African Medicine Supply Platform 17 million Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccines. Furthermore, the President has set up a committee dedicated to facilitating our domestic capacity to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines, beginning with the process of fill and finish. Mr. Speaker, on the economic front, the additional policies and strategies outlined in the Ghana CD 100 billion Ghana Cares Over Tampa program will be vital in our journey towards economic recovery and transformation. Our strategy to place the private sector at the heart of this endeavor is to accelerate competitive import substitution and export expansion to generate sustainable jobs for our teeming youth under 35 years of age, who make up about 71% of our population. Mr. Speaker, the unemployment situation in our country has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a situation which we'll confront aggressively. Indeed, it is an issue that will be at the forefront of our national discourse. The future of our young people and their livelihoods are of utmost importance to us as a nation. It requires urgent action, and the President has directed that we consolidate and implement new programs and projects to address it. It is crucial to our destiny. Mr. Speaker, over the course of this year, like many of my colleagues in government and in this House, I have traveled. I visited Tamale and Sunyani and interacted with thousands of young people. Also visited Chebi and Triapiase, drawn from various universities and tertiary institutions as part of the Springboard Foundation program. I also participated in both the Accra Springboard and NUC's annual leadership training programs. These interventions, Mr. Speaker, provided me with yet another opportunity to experience at first hand the expectations and aspirations of our young people. Our responsibility as government is to accelerate our response. In connection with that, I have had extensive discussions with my colleague ministers of employment and labor relations, youth and sports, and lands and natural resources. New programs will be introduced and existing ones scaled up and refocused to meet the aspirations of our youth. We will work together to sensitize and connect the youth, including an exciting U-Bank program. Mr. Speaker, the good people of Ghana have given us another 4-year mandate to manage the country, mitigate the impact of COVID-19, and pursue our transformation agenda of equal opportunities and prosperity for all. We are in the 7th month of the journey and executing the mandate with diligence, integrity, and faith, and we are determined to overcome the challenges that confront our nation. Let us join hands to build a more inclusive, confident, and hopeful society. COVID-19 has caused enough havoc, but we are resilient and confident people and should not allow ourselves to be defeated by the negatives. As 2 Timothy 1:7 tells us, that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. We should have courage, Mr. Speaker, hope, and resolve to work hard and expect that the Almighty God, whom most of us believe and serve, will look kindly on us and bless the work of our hands. Mr. Speaker, I now proceed ongoing mass vaccinations and the general relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions, as well as continued policy support. However, the emergence of new COVID-19 variants and potentially third waves in parts of the world, as well as disruptions of the vaccination efforts across emerging market and developing economies, is creating some uncertainty and threatening to undermine global recovery efforts. Economic recovery in most emerging markets and developing economies is expected to slow down, mainly due to continuous non-availability of vaccines. Mr. Speaker, to put the assessment of the performance of the economy for the first half of 2021 in perspective, permit me to restate the macroeconomic targets set for 2021 as presented in the 2021 budget as follows. Overall real GDP growth of at least 5%, non-oil real GDP growth of at least 6.7%, end period inflation of 8.0%, fiscal deficit of 9.5% of GDP. Primary data is yet to be released by the Ghana Statistical Service. Provisional data for the first quarter 2021 show that the recovery process from the COVID-19 pandemic is gaining some momentum, and the targets for most of the macroeconomic indicators are largely on track. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I now present highlights of the 2021 half-year fiscal performance. The implementation of the 2021 budget has been successful so far. We remain fully committed to achieving the fiscal deficit target of 9.5% of GDP for the year in order to not to derail from the objective of returning to the Fiscal Responsibility Act fiscal deficit and primary balance thresholds of 5% of GDP and positive primary balance, respectively, by 2024. Mr. Speaker, the provisional fiscal data for January to June 2021 showed that total revenue and grants amounted to 28.3 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 6.5% of GDP, against a program target of 32.4 billion Ghana cedis, or 7.5% of GDP. For the same period, total expenditure, including the clearance of arrears, amounted to 50.6 billion, equivalent to 11.7% of GDP, against a program target of 55.1 billion, or 12.7% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal deficit for the period was financed from both foreign and domestic sources. Net foreign financing of 15.2 billion Ghana cedis constituted 68.3% of the total financing and included inflows from Eurobond proceeds. On the other hand, total domestic financing amounted to Ghana's cedi 7.1 billion, representing 31.7% of total financing. Public debt development. Mr. Speaker, the total public debt stock as a percentage of GDP increased from 76.1% at the end of December 2020 to 77.1% of GDP at the end of June 2021. This stock includes the financial and energy sector bailouts. Excluding the financial sector bailout, the nominal debt stock as a percentage of GDP is 72.9%. The increase in the debt stock was mainly because of the Eurobond issuance of April 2021, COVID-19 pandemic effect, contingent liabilities, and front-loading of financing to meet cash flow requirements for the first half of this year. Mr. Speaker, the loss of human capital as a result of COVID-19 continues to be devastating. The reported steady decline in weekly average infections, which stood at 379 by the week of 5th March 2021, was sustained to 60 cases by the week of 20th June 2021. Since then, however, the detection and spread of the Delta variant has largely driven up reported cases. As of 25th July 2021, overall COVID-19 infections since the first confirmed case on 12 March 2021 has reached 103,019. There are currently 4,983 active cases, 97,213 recoveries against all efforts. 823 persons have died due to COVID-19 over the same period. Mr. Speaker, improving regional and global supply chains and rising demands led to total exports reaching $2.5 billion in the first 2 months of 2021. By June, this has significantly increased to $7.6 billion. In addition, the COVID-19 related regulatory reliefs and policy measures introduced by the Bank of Ghana continue to promote bank lending activities. From the beginning of the year to June 2021, new advances reached $16 billion, marginally above the advances of $15.8 billion during the same period in 2020. It is expected that as economic activities rebound and lending rates drop further, private sector credit will pick up. Mr. Speaker, proactive and pragmatic policies have ensured that the tourism and hospitality industry, which had perhaps endured its most difficult year in 2020, is on a rebound. Tourist arrivals in the country as at the end of 2020 was about 370,000, as against a revised target of 400,000 for 2020. With the reopening of the Kotoka International Airport in September 2020, arrivals at the end of the second quarter of 2021 were 231,000, representing 65% of the full year arrivals in 2020. Mr. Speaker, there are also other positive trends for this pandemic, as digital technology is assuming a more significant role in the operations of businesses. Almost 9 out of 10 firms are now leveraging digital platforms to market their products. Similarly, mobile money door-to-door delivery by courier services and internet usage for business operations also increased by 77%. Mr. Speaker, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, government has developed and implemented a number of interventions expressed in the National COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan and the National Strategic COVID-19 Response Plan, July 2020 to December 2024. Mr. Speaker, these plans and related interventions provided a comprehensive framework to mobilize and disburse funds which have proved vital to the success of the national containment and case management measures. Since Ghana recorded its first 2 cases on 12 March 2020, the Ghana Health Service has conducted 1,416,952 tests as of 25th July 2021, with a cumulative positivity rate of 7.3%. Mr. Speaker, Ghana implemented the COVID-19 vaccination campaign as part of the containment strategy and has developed the National Deployment and Vaccination Plan. It is planned that 20 million Ghanaians will be vaccinated in order to achieve herd immunity. Mr. Speaker, we have upgraded our national, regional, and district cold chain facilities to widen our access to vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna that require -70 degrees centigrade cold chains. These include 16 ultra-low cold freezers, 58 units of ultra-low freezers, 50 normal vaccine refrigerators, 300 boxes to be filled with ice packs, 300 ice pack freezers, 10 cold chain vans, and 120 temperature monitoring devices. Government has also committed to providing seed funding of $25 million towards the development of the country's capacity to produce vaccines domestically. This will be achieved through the establishment of a National Vaccine Institute. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic further strengthened our efforts to tackle discrimination and inequality against women, since the sectors hard hit by the crisis, like tourism, hospitality, and small-scale retailing, employ a large number of women. It is important to note that Ghana was one of the few countries in the world that devised a plan to ensure that the impact of the pandemic on MSMEs will be minimized. Through the Ghana Enterprise Agency, formerly National Board for Small Scale and Industries, a number of programs were implemented to minimize the impact of the pandemic and also to support in the realization of the government vision of diversity, inclusivity, and job creation. Under the Ghana cedi 600 million Coronavirus Alleviation Program business support, a total of 520 million Ghana cedis had been disbursed to over 299,000 MSME beneficiaries between May 2020 and June 2021. For the 290,000 beneficiaries who benefited under the Coronavirus Program Business Support Scheme, CABAS, 60% of the beneficiaries were women-owned businesses or MSMEs. The intervention unlocked access to finance mainly to women who would not have been able to access funds to support and build their businesses. Technical support was also provided in the form of training, entrepreneurship, and financial management to 15,748 beneficiaries across Ghana, over 67% being females. Over 740,000 jobs have been protected, and a database of 904,000 MSMEs has been created to inform policy going forward. Support was also given to specific sectors such as the creative arts, media, and the private education to enable them continue to offer key services in peak of the pandemic. As at the end of June 2021, a total of 52.3 million Ghana cedis has been disbursed to 29,698 beneficiaries within the creative arts industry. Additionally, 5,410 private schools, university, and association with the educational sector received a total of 41.2 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, to sustain the quality of life for Ghanaians during the pandemic, government subsidized the cost for various categories of household and industrial electricity consumption from April to December 2020. Altogether, 4,772,512 customers benefited from the electricity reliefs for the period. The policy, however, continued for lifetime customers from January to March 2021. Mr. Speaker, as part of government's social interventions for supply of free water under the COVID-19 initiative, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources partnered the Ghana Water Company Limited and Community Water and Sanitation Agency to ensure the full realization of the objective. The program started in April 2020 and was extended to June 2021 for domestic consumers whose monthly consumption does not exceed 5,000 liters. In all, over 10 million urban dwellers were supplied with potable water by Ghana Water from April to December 2020. This initiative currently supplies free water to a total of over 2.3 million urban domestic dwellers whose monthly consumption does not exceed 5,000 liters of potable water at a cumulative cost of 836.82 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, CWSA, on the other hand, supplied 17.9 billion liters of potable water to rural and peri-urban population of 5.8 million at a total cost of 100.28 million Ghana cedis between April 2020 and June 2021. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund was set up under Act 1013 to receive and manage contributions and donations from well-meaning individuals, groups, and corporate bodies. As at 30th June 2021, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund had received a total amount of 57.15 million in cash donations. These donations were made between the period April 2020 and March 2021. As at 30th June 2021, the fund had disbursed an amount of 52.5 million Ghana cedis for various programs, as well as procurement of items. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced Africa into responsive to Africa's liquidity and financing need, and is no longer fit for purpose. Africa cannot truly rise unless there's a tectonic shift, Mr. Speaker, in the global financial architecture to support it. To this end, African finance ministers have commenced global advocacy for the IMF to unlend between 25 to 30% of its new SDR 650 billion to Africa. We are also advocating for the establishment of the African Stability Mechanism and the African Liquidity and Sustainability Facility, akin to the European Stability Mechanism. The African Stability Mechanism will protect the continent against external shocks by providing instant emergency access to financial assistance for countries in financial difficulty. The Liquidity and Sustainability Facility could also underwrite a more effective market in African debt that reduces the high liquidity premium African countries pay for sustainability-linked investments. Implementation of Ghana Cares. Mr. Speaker, with every crisis, the need to restructure and diversify the economy becomes imperative. The recent experience of the COVID-19 pandemic, with its disruptive impact on global and regional value chains, has once again highlighted the need to build a transformed Ghana beyond aid. It is for this reason that in November 2020, government launched the audacious 100 billion Ghana COVID-19 alleviation and revitalization of enterprises support, Ghana Cares, Obatampa program. The first phase of the program, also known as the stabilization phase, was implemented between July and December 2020. It alleviated the immediate impact of COVID-19 on our economy and restored normalcy in the lives and livelihoods of Ghanaians through substantially subsidized water and electricity costs, hot meals and food packages distributed to vulnerable and underprivileged persons, increased allocation for the cab bus scheme to support MSMEs, Ghana's CD 2 billion guarantee scheme established to support large businesses, established skills training programs in collaboration with social partners and faith-based organizations, and passage of urgent legislation to enforce COVID-19 safety protocols. Mr. Speaker, since the turn of the year, we have been purposefully pursuing the second phase of the Ghana Cares program to revitalize the economy and set it on track for transformation. As already articulated, our approach under this program is to revitalize the private sector in targeted sectors to fast-track competitive import substitution, export expansion, and the creation of decent jobs for our youth in a commercial environment that is increasingly regionally integrated. We have operationalized a well-thought-out implementation and coordination framework of a functional and staffed Ghana Cares Coordinating Office within the Ministry of Finance. Additionally, Ghana Cares delivery units, including sector specialists from the private sector, have been activated in all participating MDAs. Implementation compacts, Mr. Speaker, outlining the most critical interventions for 2021, delivery and reporting arrangements, as well as commitments by Ministry of Finance and participating MDAs have been signed. The participating ministries, departments, and agencies include the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, MOTAC, GIPC, and GRA. Mr. Speaker, in line with our commitment to a functioning financial ecosystem and the Ghana Cares, we are establishing the building blocks for a stronger network of institutions to support businesses and entrepreneurship, including the Development Bank of Ghana, GERSO, the Ghana Commodity Exchange Venture Capital Trust, and the recently established Ghana Enterprises Agency. This network of institutions would anchor a new age of entrepreneurship, job creation, and wealth building for our post-COVID transformation. Mr. Speaker, to modernize our agricultural sector, we are investing in initiatives that would improve production and productivity in the rice, poultry, soybean, tomato, and cassava subsectors this year. The recent engagement of all the value chain actors in these subsectors has sharpened the focus of investment in a holistic manner. We are therefore providing interest rate subsidies, facilitating equipment acquisition, linking markets and producers, as well as producing relevant research in these subsectors. The youth are being supported this year to become outgrowers for anchor farmers and boost participation in commercial farming. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Cares is providing catalytic support to drive efficiency and improve outputs in the agriculture sector by investing in data and digital technology. These technologies would revolutionize the targeting of inputs such as seed inputs, extension services, and acquisition of land for commercial farming. Additionally, the program will support the reform of the fertilizer subsidy system using digital technology to make it more efficient and less prone to smuggling. This will be achieved by registering farmers for improved targeting. The registration will provide information on farmers, biodata, crops cultivated, acreage, digital location of farms to track seed and fertilizer subsidy programs. By end February 2022, 1.2 million farmers will be registered. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, the program will support the reform of the fertilizer subsidy program. Mr. Speaker, accelerated expansion of Ghana's light manufacturing is a focus under Ghana Cares. Government is delivering dedicated support to expand the production capacity of our pharmaceutical, garments, and textiles industries, as well as the processing capacity of our agro-processors to increase exports and create additional jobs. Specific interventions include support for the establishment of a cassava processing plant, provision of technical assistance to the garment and textiles industry, as well as the pharmaceutical industries. Key pharmaceutical manufacturing companies are being supported to upgrade their operations to attain good manufacturing practice standards and benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Area. Additionally, government is working feverishly to establish a garment industrial park in Dawa, which will boost, and MESTI has therefore established a foundry for the fabrication of tools and is in the process of identifying suitable private sector operator to manage the foundry. We are also providing incentives to the private sector to manufacture key agricultural implements and prototype industrial research on a commercial basis. Mr. Speaker, we are aggressively promoting international and domestic tourism through Ghana Cares by supporting the modernization and development of selected tourist sites. We are therefore upgrading the scale of sector operators, working to reduce the cost of doing business and improving the competitiveness of enterprises in the sector, as well as transforming targeted tourist beaches to increase patronage, such as in Sakumono, Axum, and Elmina. Mr. Speaker, in support of government's agenda to provide sustainable and completed affordable housing, we are providing funds to the National Home Ownership Fund. This fund, to be matched by participating financial institutions, will provide low blended mortgage interest rates of between 11 to 12% as compared to the current market rates between 25 to 26%. Through this intervention, which builds upon and expands the pilot project implemented last year, our quest to promote residential home ownership while boosting the domestic construction sector to provide more jobs is on course. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Cares is providing catalytic investment for the development of communication infrastructure this year. Government is concerned been allocated to Ministry of Communication and Digitalization for the establishment of digital and innovation hubs in 4 additional cities following the successful pilot of the Digital and Innovation Hub in Accra. This hub will eventually be expanded to all regions in subsequent years. Mr. Speaker, ongoing efforts to consolidate the fiber assets of Volta River Authority, Electricity Company of Ghana, Ghana Great Company Limited, Ghana National Gas Company Limited, Bureau of National Communication, Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication, and others are being sustained under this program. We are also enhancing the capacity of key institutions and improving coordination with the private sector for quality service delivery to facilitate business expansion and economic transformation. Mr. Speaker, government is aware of the critical importance of additional revenue to finance all these initiatives that underpin our recovery and transformation agenda. Indeed, we are committed to raising our tax to GDP from the current 14% to 20% as our peers in the sub-region. The Ghana Revenue Authority is therefore implementing a transformation agenda to block the huge leakages in key sectors of the economy. This transformation agenda has the remit to identify and prevent revenue leakages whilst reinforcing the culture of compliance nationwide. A formal launch of this initiative is scheduled for Monday, 2nd August 2021. Mr. Speaker, the GIPC also has a crucial role to play under the Ghana Cares program by spearheading the mobilization of 70 billion Ghana cedis in private sector investment. We are supporting GIPC to be more targeted and proactive in seeking investment into the prioritized sectors for the nation. The intentional and dedicated effort to attract global and regional brands in the likes of Twitter, Google, will be leveraged to grow local enterprises. Mr. Speaker, as part of measures to mitigate the impact of unanticipated future socioeconomic crises such as COVID-19 pandemic on Ghanaian workers, government announced in the 2020 media review of fiscal policy the establishment of the National Unemployment Insurance Scheme and training-retraining programs as part of the Ghana Cares Obatampa program. Mr. Speaker, we are currently in the design phase of the National Unemployment Scheme, and key stakeholders are being consulted. The consultations will be scaled up to include more stakeholders and technical experts to ensure that the project design suits the Ghanaian labor market. Mr. Speaker, the implementation of the training and retraining component of the program has been accelerated. Government, together with the social partners, have decided to pilot the national training and retraining program in the two sectors that were mostly affected by the pandemic, namely the private education sector and the hospitality and tourism sector. The compacts which have been signed between the Ministries of Finance and a number of MDAs specify specific results to be achieved by the MDAs and the catalytic resources to be provided by the Ministry of Finance. Each compact includes a clear results tracking framework with further releases of funds tied to performance. I'm happy to report that this exciting performance-based arrangement is up and running. The catalytic resources have started flowing, and the MDAs are energized and getting on with the activities. The compacts ensure effective and timely delivery of targets under Ghana Cares for 2021. Mr. Speaker, government is demonstrably committed to the nation's economic recovery and eventual transformation as envisioned by the Ghana Cares program. We are innovating new ways to get results. We are engaging all actors to secure keen participation and involvement. We are aggressively mobilizing resources to deliver the program. The recent urgency brought to bear by our youth is appreciated. We will continue to prioritize the opportunities as a means for this transformation journey. Mr. Speaker, the implementation of the Ghana Cares complement the existing flagship programs such as Free SHS, PFG, 1D, 1F, among others, which are being rationalized to enhance the quality of life of our people and further advance our transformation agenda. To this end, the recent challenges relating to the school feeding program and IPEP and caterers are being resolved. Mr. Speaker, despite the generally strong performance of our economy in recent decades, the issue of unemployment and jobs for our youth, who constitute close to 71% of our population, persists. This situation has been exacerbated by the pandemic by the impact of this pandemic. Taking the lesson from our recent past, we are deliberately intervening to avoid a jobless economic growth and recovery. Mr. Speaker, at a strategic level, our comprehensive and holistic response to the employment and jobs issue remains anchored on the private sector. It is for this reason that government's recovery program transformation agenda is easing the constraints of the private sector to enable them to expand and provide jobs for the youth. A recent survey indicated that about 50% of local employers report misalignment of or inadequacy of skills in the market. It also reports that at least 50% of new tertiary institutions entrants are enrolling in programs in sectors with no or little growth in labor market. Mr. Speaker, in response to this, we are strengthening the links between education and job market stakeholders. We are also revitalizing the skills development initiatives and the Ghana Enterprises Agency, NEIP, YEA, and CODVET. We are also feverishly working on a scheme that enables the private sector to train new recruits entrants at a subsidized rates by government. Mr. Speaker, our intention of building an entrepreneurial nation is already known. We aim to empower our youth to be at ease and venture into businesses. The cleanup of the financial sector and the invigoration of the entrepreneurial ecosystem is expected to help remove the binding constraints of financing and market linkages for our daring youth. Our focus will remain on establishing a strong value system for entrepreneurship to flourish. Mr. Speaker, recognizing that more needs to be done, government is today announcing a 1 million jobs initiatives to aggressively respond to the needs of the country. This is to promote growth in SMEs, support new ventures, and stimulate innovation and startups. Mr. Speaker, the Enterprise and Youth Support Fund, which aligns with government's overall strategy of developing a competitive and viable private sector economy, will set up a youth bank with the aim of financing youth-led startup businesses across the country. As part of this initiative, an online investment hub will be established for youth across the country to access information for the purpose of establishing businesses. It is estimated over 100,000 jobs will be created through this. Mr. Speaker, the Venture Fund Trust, which is being revamped to be better positioned to carry out the designated activities, also as a fund manager. Mr. Speaker, we are also pursuing the Obatampa Youth Entrepreneurship Drive, Ghana Skills and Entrepreneurship Development Project, Student Entrepreneurship Initiative, the Youth in Community Improvement Model, and the Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program as direct interventions in targeted sectors to help our youth live decent lives and contribute to nation building. These interventions are clearly designed to bring us closer to confronting the jobs and employment challenges of our youth. To ensure dedicated resources, the Ministry of Finance and all participating institutions will next month sign an implementation compact on youth employment, which will tie release of resources to delivery of results. This compact will also track youth-focused initiatives across the value chain of interventions under the Ghana Cares program. Women-focused interventions. Mr. Speaker, our women have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Government is activating a policy to have 20% of procurements awarded to women. Women will also be supported with specific capacity building programs and will be empowered to leverage the danger-sensitive lending policies to be implemented by the Development Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency declared 2021 as the second year of roads, and government prioritized roads for economic development and putting the economy back on track following the devastating impact of COVID-19 pandemic. From January to end June 2021, routine maintenance was carried out on 11,174 kilometers of trunk road network, 5,389 kilometers of the feeder road network, and 2,937 kilometers of the urban road network. Additionally, periodic maintenance comprising regraveling, spot improvement, and resealing works were carried out in the same period on 44, 167, and 262 kilometers of trunk, feeder, and urban road networks, respectively. Mr. Speaker, works were completed on the Tema Motorway Runabout Phase 1 in June 2020. The second phase of the project, which involves the third tier of the interchange, is expected to take off by third quarter 2021, following the completion of Phase 1 of the Obecha-Bilamte Circle interchange and other ancillary works. Work on Phase 2 has started and currently at a physical progress of 15%. In 2020, works were also started on the La Beach Road project, which involves improving capacity along the Accra-Tema Beach Road and the construction of a three-tier interchange at Nungwa Barrier. Physical progress for lots 1 and 2 is 13% and 11% respectively. Mr. Speaker, physical progress of work on the Kumasi Lake roads and drainage extension projects is 73% complete as at the end of June 2021. The construction of 7 bridges is also on the way, and completion with 4 bridges launched and 1 at substructure level. Overall progress is 70% at the end of June 2021. Mr. Speaker, works began in 2020 for the construction of 50 bridges nationwide aimed at improving connectivity within areas cut off by waterways. The first batch of 21 steel bridge components have arrived in the country. Work have started on 14 of the substructures and 3 were completed. Government has awarded contracts for the implementation of 84 critical regional and interregional roads projects with an estimated length of 2,237 kilometers at a cost of 7.8 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, even though Ghana remains a pillar of stability in the region, the sub-regional securities, and particularly from Mali and Burkina Faso. In particular, the southward drift of the activities of violent extremists, terrorists, and pirates in the Gulf of Guinea have become more widespread, frequent, and deadly with the underlying dynamics. Mr. Speaker, it becomes imperative that we address the existing vulnerabilities and intensify preemptive, preventive, and countermeasures. Mr. Speaker, government has revamped and retooled the Ghana Boundary Commission since the beginning of 2021 to undertake its strategic mandate of determining and demarcating the land boundaries and delimitation of maritime boundaries of Ghana in accordance with accepted principles of international law. Mr. Speaker, we are also working further to retool the Intelligence Initiative, which serves as a coordinated and intelligence sharing platform with neighboring countries. Mr. Speaker, we'll come to this honorable House in support of the security of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund was established to mobilize, manage, coordinate, and provide financial resources for investment and infrastructure projects and ease the burden of quasi-public. This is also beginning to be adopted in Africa, and the government of Ghana intends to allow GIF to increasingly play such a role for Ghana. The government intends to reduce our infrastructure gap by enabling GIF to drive sizable but economically viable infrastructure projects to conclusion, which will also create additional fiscal space for government to operate. As such, we've nominated GIF as a vehicle to be used to restructure and refinance expensive debt of the independent power producers in the energy sector, as well as take energy equity positions in some cases to help reduce the fiscal burden to drive our structural transformation through funding for critical infrastructure such as the district hospitals, Agenda 111, quality and affordable housing, improved rail and road networks, and ICT infrastructure. We've therefore revised the Earmark Funds Act to allow a 20% increase in the allocation of ABFA CAPEX to GIF for the funding of Agenda 111 and other development expenditure. Mr. Speaker, on the 26th of April 2020, His Excellency the President, as part of his 8th address to the nation on government's efforts to combat the coronavirus project, now dubbed Agenda 111, will require the government constructs 101 standard district hospitals, 6 new regional hospitals, 1 regional hospital for the Western region, rehabilitation of a Piakwanta hospital in the Western region, constructing 2 new psychiatric hospitals, construction of a new Accra psychiatric hospital. The objective is to use the local teams comprising of Ghanaian consultants, project managers, and construction firms. It is envisaged that upon the successful completion of Agenda 111, Ghanaians across the country will experience a marked improvement in access to contract works have been completed for 88 sites for the district hospitals. Mr. Speaker, we expect to commence phase 2 construction 3 weeks from now, from 17th August 2021. Mr. Speaker, an important project such as Agenda 111 requires extensive preparation and due diligence. We are confident and happy with the level of detail and attention that has gone into the to have at least an operational aerodrome airstrip in each of the regions in the country. The rehabilitation expansion will adequately address the current operational challenges and propel business and industrial growth in the Puno region and its catchment area. Lands and mining. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, in line with the President, has held a national dialogue followed by 2 regional dialogues on small-scale mining. Following this, several measures are being put in place to build a sustainable, viable, and commission to undertake strict monitoring and enforcement of our mining laws. The Lands Commission has commenced the process of regional education and sensitization on the new Land Act 2020, Act 1036. Efforts to protect forests and recover lost ones have included Green Ghana project. We saw the planting of over 5 million trees on June 11, 2021, the Green Ghana Day. The outright ban on the harvesting and exportation of rosewood, and the declaration of forest reserve in red zones for mining. The program will be anchored on 6 main interventions, namely national land reclamation and reforestation, agriculture and agro-processing, apprenticeship, skills training and entrepreneurship, responsible, viable, and sustainable community mining, mine support services, and community enhancement projects. These initiatives will target mainly illegal miners displaced by the ongoing efforts to sanitize the mining industry. Government recognizes the need to protect our environment just as it finds it necessary to provide alternative employment and livelihoods for our compatriots who will inevitably fall in the country. Mr. Speaker, on energy, the COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the campaign for a transition away from fossil fuels. Given the prevailing sentiment around energy transition, there's a strong possibility that Ghana may be left with stranded assets unless we accelerate our exploration activities and develop a homegrown strategy to extract our fossil fuel. As such, GNPC is looking at opportunities for a subsidiary, GNPC Exploco, to acquire such assets and become an operator in its own right to ensure the expeditious development of our hydrocarbon resources. The new strategy may require an amendment or revision of the PRMA to allow GNPC to enter into some reserve-based lending transactions in order to be able to raise the required financing to consummate these acquisitions and to finance exploration and development of such fields without having to rely on controlling equity stake and eventually becoming operators through Exploco. We shall always come back to the House with any agreements once concluded. Mr. Speaker, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals call for urgent action by all countries aimed at encouraging sustained economic growth underpinned by social, economic, and environmental sustainability, a blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and in the future. Accordingly, the government of Ghana recognizes that we must be at the forefront and promote the building blocks for an inclusive and sustainable recovery. Our focus remains to move urgently toward opportunities and solutions that achieve sustainable and broad-based economic growth without harming our climate or leaving hundreds of millions of families in poverty. As such, government has commenced on a roadmap for 50 million tons of carbon capture. Globally, the international capital markets is moving its financing appetite towards sustainable initiative that supports such goals. Ghana is also keen on positioning itself to benefit from the desire to provide such financing by developing an ESG framework which will allow proceeds raised or an amount equivalent to such proceeds raised to be used for financing or refinancing eligible green and sustainable projects such as renewable energy, health, education-related infrastructure, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, our partnership with FBOs has directly and indirectly benefited over 46,000 and 100,000 trainees, respectively, in fashion, catering, cosmetology, electronics, soft business, and managerial skills. Efforts are being made to roll out the next phase by end of the third quarter. We continue to count, Mr. Speaker, on our SBO partnerships to sensitize and ensure adherence progressing speedily, and following the program of the contractors, and with God helping us, the National Cathedral is expected to be officially commissioned on March 6, 2024. Upon completion, the National Cathedral will provide a sacred space for formal religious activities of state and symbolize the enormous contribution of faith to nation building. Mr. Speaker, this state and church partnership envisaged by the President to develop the National Cathedral is on course. An initiative, the 100 Cedis a Month Club, also dubbed Ketua Biara Nswa, will be launched by the trustees of the National Cathedral on August 12, 2021, to give as many Ghanaians as possible the opportunity to be part of the history to build the National Cathedral. The aim of the club is to raise 1 million Ghanaians who will give member of this august house joining the 100 Cedis a Month Club. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, may I convey a special message from His Excellency the President to the young people of our beloved country. The last couple of years has not been easy for our young people. Your education has been disrupted. For many of you, your business plans are on hold because of lack of funding or opportunities. You may have lost your job or are simply tired of joining long queues or filling job application forms for vacancies that are filled even before your ink is dry. But we have a message for you. Big opportunities are coming, and the President wants you to be part of that. President Education. At the heart of the policies outlined in today's statement is the rolling out of various programs to build an economy that allows you to unleash the wealth and breadth of your energies. Your President believes in the power of constructive collective action. Together we can ensure that yesterday's problems are tackled today so that we do not carry them on to the next generation. As the great American Franklin Roosevelt once said, the only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. We must confront the spirit of doubt and face our fears in faith. Mr. Speaker, today we have announced key job creation and entrepreneurship interventions such as a U-Bank product and a host of other government interventions that target young people. These should enable us to connect applicants to appropriate job opportunities or provide assistance to allow applicants to confidently start their own businesses and take full advantage of the supportive ecosystem we have put in place, and for them to prepare a brighter Ghana for the next generation. Our responsibility as your government is not just about responding to the judgment of our critics today, but to the judgment of posterity. Conclusion. Mr. Speaker, it has been almost 16 months since 11th March 2020, when WHO declared the COVID-19 a pandemic. However, as a country, we have reason to be optimistic and hopeful. Based on key indicators, we are on track to recovering from the most difficult crisis in the post-war era. In the next few months, the Minister of President Akufo-Addo and the New Patriotic Party. Ghanaians renewed our mandate because they recognize that the difficult crisis that the country and the world as a whole were facing as a result of COVID-19 pandemic required competent and bold leadership, which we have proved and will continue to provide under the decisive leadership of His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, permit me to say, with all the confidence that I can muster, that the President promised to leave at the end of his term in January 2025 a legacy of a proud and confident nation at peace with itself and the world around it is on course. We are pushing the boundaries of our economic activity and doing so right from the center of a fast integrating single market for the continent of Africa. And some 2.5 trillion GDP and growing will become a reality. The policies of this government in education, infrastructure development, industrialization, in fast-tracking digital technologies, in strengthening the financial services sector, in foreign diplomacy, are all being deliberately pursued and synchronized to get this generation to establish Sub-Sahara's first independent nation, Ghana, as a commercial and investment center for Africa. We began by setting the country on a transformation track back in 2027 with our bold vision of a Ghana beyond aid. The recovery is on. We are back on track despite the pandemic, completion, consolidation, and continuity. We choose to be bold in crafting a 2021 budget that deals with the past, delivers opportunities in the present, while investing in the future in a responsible and interconnected manner. Specifically in 2021, we aim at A, COVID-19 containment measures, including vaccination, creating jobs, B, creating jobs, promoting entrepreneurship and wealth creation, C, developing our infrastructure with priority focus on roads, railway, water, and sanitation, hospitals, and housing, diversifying productivity and high-value services, implementing bold reforms to increase revenue mobilization and the efficiency of public expenditure, deepening structural reforms to make the machinery of government work better for the people, and rolling out digital technologies, e.g. national ID, digital address system, payment systems, interoperability, land title registration, Ghana.gov, to improve our service delivery. We've been further vindicated by the COVID-19 crisis. The pandemic has heightened the need for digital technology in our homes, for schools, for work, and even leisure. That is why today, Ghana is at the forefront of using digital technology to expand access to finance and financial products for all Ghanaians. Digitalization is making the delivery of services more efficient, diversifying production, and boosting productivity. In the process, it is creating new and better paid jobs for the young people of Ghana. Critical to all this, Mr. Speaker, is access to affordable high-speed internet. Government is doing what is needed to support the telecommunications industry to deliver on this too. Mr. Speaker, we are making the necessary investments to empower our people and enhance the quality of their lives. Our strategy as government is to use all the human and natural resources of our country in a sustainable and efficient manner to improve the quality of life of every Ghanaian. That is why in this mid-year fiscal review, we have clearly outlined our strategy for economic revitalization and transformation. We have shown that, A, we are on track towards a fiscal consolidation through our prudent measures. B, we are on track to consolidate our flagship programs to improve the welfare of our people. C, we are on track in supporting commercial farming for food security and export expansion. D, we are on track in building strong light manufacturing sector in Ghana with catalytic financial and technical support. E, we are on track towards deploying digital technologies to enhance delivery of public service. F, we are on track of our agenda to positioning Ghana as a regional hub for investments in agribusiness, information, communication technology, manufacturing, education, health, service delivery, financial services, petrochemical industry, transportation and logistics, and aviation, among others. G, we are on track to opening the doors of the Development Bank of Ghana to finance Ghanaian businesses and enterprises through the strengthening of Ghanaian financial institutions. And H, we are on track towards improving the security and safety of our people. Our journey, Mr. Speaker, to recovery and transformation recognizes that the solution to our challenges lie primarily with ourselves, and that with purposeful leadership and a determined people, we shall surely overcome. Our appreciation of our shared responsibility between government and the governed, our acceptance of the principle of rendering unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and our appetite to see more, all that is good in us as Ghanaians, and focus more on that what is constructive as against that which dampens our spirit, is what I'll beg all of us to dwell on the more. Dwell on our positives, for they are more than our negatives. With purpose, we have laid out our recovery and revitalization plan in the 100 billion Ghana Cares of Atampa program. This program is anchored on our faith in the inherent capacity of the Ghanaian, both at home and abroad, to succeed. It is also anchored in a stronger partnership with the domestic private sector, employers, organized labor, foreign investors, faith-based organizations, and our development partners. By the grace of God, with the resilience of the Ghanaian people, and the competent management by this government, our progress is assured. Mr. Speaker, just 7 days ago, 14 Ghanaians began a journey to raise high the flag of Ghana at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Their success is our success, and we should continue to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Together, we are intervening in diverse areas to enable our people to thrive. But we are not yet there. New upside risks are beginning to emerge as latest health statistics show that the COVID-19 infections are beginning to rise again. As the President remarked on Sunday, at a time when the economy is on the rebound and business activity is picking up, I quote, "We must do everything possible to contain this outbreak. We cannot afford to return to the days of partial lockdowns, which brought considerable hardship and difficulties for all of us. Let us be each other's keepers, observe the COVID-19 protocols that have served us so well, especially the wearing of masks. Pursue peace and eschew nihilism, where we build each other up and not tear each other apart. Let us work with wisdom and skill. Let us see ourselves as peacemakers, salt of the earth and light of the world, so that our collective leadership and shared sacrifices in this polarized world shall be a blessing to our nation and as an example to the rest. And as is written at the UN when you go there, the wolf and the lamb will feed together, and the lion will eat straw like us, and dust will be the serpent's food. My seat, allow me to convey the heartfelt gratitude of the President for the support this august House continues to extend to him and his government. So far, the House has shown that we can debate and disagree on many issues and yet remain true and united on the main goal of advancing the general well-being of our people and the deepening of our democracy. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.
Honourable members, order. In accordance with Standing Order 143, comments on the budget review statement shall stand adjourned in accordance with 143 for 3 days, not less than 3 days. But I'll defer to leadership for guidance on this matter. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Minister for Finance. And I'm not here to ask for money, because Mr. Speaker, you don't drink water from an empty calabash. So we can understand why he's not here to ask for money. No boards in place, no chief executives in place, no DCs in place. What will you ask for more money for? What will you ask for more money for, Mr. Speaker? But, Mr. Speaker, I only remind him that as for farmers who want fertilizer is seasonal. If you don't give them their fertilizer now, you lose the opportunity. So, Mr. Speaker, the tie is not in the haste for a dance that ensues the day. We will release and debt forgiveness. That's their hope to rescue this economy. If there is debt relief and debt forgiveness is his only hope. So you can move a motion for adjournment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'll be guided.
Honorable Minority Leader.
The Speaker, what the minister, the substantive minister responsible for finance, has done is to relate to Parliament the progress as the budget cycle is unfolding. So, Speaker, this indeed technically is a statement of information to this House, to the extent that the minister is not coming with a request for additional expenditure. So, Speaker, that statement, this is not a matter for debate technically. That's what, yes. Mr. Speaker, people should understand the procedure in this House. Mr. Speaker, as for comments, you could spice your comments with whatever you deem appropriate. The Speaker, the moderator, will be the person to bring you on track if you stray. But having said so, Mr. Speaker, to the extent that the minister is telling you that we are staying on track, nothing extraneous is being done outside the remit of the budget that was presented, we can't comment within the context of that framework. Mr. Speaker, of the media review, even if you want us to start today, you can open the floodgates. And I dare you to move the motion that let us start today. We are ever ready, like ever ready battery. Mr. Speaker, but to be fair to the House, Mr. Speaker, we will stand the comment down in order to allow members to digest the statement that has been presented to us. And as the minority leader is indicating, this really invites comments from all of us. But I notice and I recognize that tomorrow is Friday, and we may not have too much space for comments. If it becomes necessary that the comments spill over to Monday, Mr. Speaker, we can encourage that. And then we will have at least 2 days to comment on that. I do know that members will want to, as many members as possible will want to comment on that. And I think we should free space to engage in that exercise. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to express gratitude to you and to the Finance Minister for coming to your sides of this House. Mr. Speaker, thank you. And with the time reading 2:42, I believe we can take a well-earned adjournment and come tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, I believe we can start tomorrow at 10 because of the day for our colleague, the Muslims. So at least we can have enough time to begin the comments in earnest tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, I submit and accordingly.
Mr. Speaker, my task is a simple one, is to just have seconded to a motion for adjournment, but to remind the leader of government business that as far as we are concerned, the Minister of Finance moved a motion, and therefore we look forward to commenting or debating that motion. The absence of joy on your face and many others is what reflects in the eyes of many Ghanaians. You yourself, you are not happy with the budget. Is this an improvement over what you presented or a review of it? Mr. Speaker, I second the motion for adjournment. Thank you.
Honourable members, let me remind the House that I'll move the. If all in favor of the House adjourning, say aye. All against, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The House stands adjourned to tomorrow, 10 a.m. in the forenoon.